In this video, I'm going to teach you how to factorize a quadratic expression when the a or the coefficient of x squared is not 1. So, in other words, a regular quadratic is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, depending on whether we're solving it. But at the moment, we'll just leave it like that. You can see that in the previous video that you've watched, the a was always 1. Well, what happens when the a is not 1? We're going to use a method which is called grouping. We're going to factorize by grouping pairs together. So I'll just give you a little bit of background help with that to begin with. I'm just going to write down a couple of expressions and I'm going to talk to you about how we group pairs together. So in this expression here, we've got, it's like you split it in two. You look at the first two terms and you go, okay, they've got common factors. They've got x and x here. Okay, now I wouldn't group the 2x and the 5x together because, yes, they've got an x, but they don't have anything else in common. So I'm going to look at the first two terms first, pull out a common factor of x, and then just look at those. So I got x plus 2. So x times x gives me the x squared. X times 2 gives me the 2x. Now let's look at the second two terms. Both of them have a factor of 5. So I can pull the 5 out. And then within the bracket, I have x plus 2. Let's check that. 5 times x gives me the 5x. 5 times the 2 gives me the 10. Now what we see here is that both terms now have a factor of x plus 2. So this term is multiplied by x plus 2 and this term is multiplied by x plus 2. So both the x and the 5 are multiplied by x plus 2. So I write x plus 5 multiplied by x plus 2. Now that is what we call factorizing by grouping pairs. All right, let me just do another one just to help with the skill that we'll need for the next part. So x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus the 12. Again, we're going to group them. So I split it down the middle. I look at the first two terms, pull out an x, and that gives me x minus 3. So let's check that. X times x gives me x squared. X times minus 3 gives me the minus 3x. Now I do the second two terms. Well, I can pull out a common factor of 4. Oh, sorry, negative 4. So I'm pulling out negative 4. Now, let's have a look what we multiplied by. Now, I multiply it by x minus 3 because negative 4 times x gives me negative 4x and negative 4 times negative 3 gives me the positive 12, which I need. Again, same thing has occurred. We've got x minus 3 is a common factor of both the terms in this expression. So I can say that x minus 4 is multiplied by x minus 3. Okay, now let's go on to doing some factorizing of quadratics with the coefficient is greater than 1. So let's factorize fully 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. Now, what we need to do, we know it's a quadratic, so we know it's going to go into two brackets. What we do is we multiply the a and the c terms together. So you basically multiply a times c. Well, our a is 2 and our c is 1. And the number we get is 2. What we need to do now is say, well, I need two numbers that multiply together to make 2, that when added make this b term, which is positive 3. So actually our numbers are going to be 2 and 1. Now it's done slightly differently to the previous one because once we've found those two numbers, we're going to break down this middle term into those two numbers. So I'm going to rewrite plus 3x with the new numbers that we found, keeping the other two terms the same. So we've got 2x squared plus 2x plus 1x, so that makes our 3x plus the 1. Okay, so all we've done is broken down that single middle term into two. Now we're going to use the skill we learnt above, grouping the pairs together by splitting it down the middle. So I'm just going to group these two together and pull out the common factors, which are 2x, x plus 1. Okay, so let's check that. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. 2x times 1 gives me the 2x. Now we do the same with the other two terms. So I can pull out a 1, but I'm not going to write the 1. Well, I could write the 1, but algebraically we don't normally write 1, but I will for this purpose. And then obviously I'm just multiplying it by x plus 1. So 1 times x is x and 1 times 1 is 1. Now we see the same term, the same factor in both the terms. We have x plus 1 in this one, and we have x plus 1 in this one. So we can say that 2x plus the 1 are both multiplied by x plus 1. That is now fully factorized. Let's do one more now. It's a new skill we've learned. Let's factorize 9x squared plus 6x minus 8. So again, we take the a and then we multiply it by the c. So 9 times negative 8 gives us the negative 72. Okay, so I'm dealing with negative 72, and I want two numbers that when multiplied together give me negative 72. There's a few choices. Obviously 9 and the 8 is a choice, but I need those two numbers to add together to make positive 6. So I'm going to choose 12 and negative 6. 12 times negative 6 makes the negative 72, and then 12 plus negative 6 makes the plus 6 there. Okay, so now I've got my two numbers. I'm going to break this term down into my new two numbers. So keep 9x squared the same. I'm going to write minus 6x plus the 12x minus the 8. Notice how I changed my mind there. I was about to write the 12 there. I thought, no, I'm going to write the 6 there because I'm grouping my factors. So when I group them, I need to be able to pull out the highest common factor. And if I'd put the 12 there, the 6 and the 8 just wouldn't have worked as well together. So let's have a look. I can pull out a common factor of 3x in this one, and that becomes 3x minus 2. And in this one here, I'm going to pull out a factor of 4 bracket, and that will be 3x minus 2. Alright, so grouping them together, we say the 3x plus the 4 are both multiplied by the same factor, 3x minus 2.